Hello guys, this is the start of a new tutorial series dedicated to stealth system, and I want to record this video as one big and then split it up into some parts. And let's start. Under stealth system, I'm understanding the possibility of a player to change his state from just walking or running to crouching. So also he may be able to hide somewhere, like I have such a bush, and when he will stay in it, his enemies or AI NPCs will not see him. Also, I want to add some functionality to be able to count stealth factor depending on how dark place is. So let's start. Let's start first from an animations. I'm gonna use Mixamo animations. So if you are just repeating this video, open mixamo.com and just log in here. Also, we should download the Mixamo Converter. It's an application to convert Mixamo animations to Unreal Engine 5 or 4 or MetaHuman Skeleton. I will put this link under a video. Here you can download it, unarchive, and you will receive such an application like Mixamo Converter. This Mixamo Converter application has mannequins with Mixamo skeleton assigned to them. So open mannequins and here select your main mannequin. In my case, it's Many Unreal Engine 5. I'm gonna use simple mannequin and upload it to Mixamo. So in Mixamo, I'm gonna select upload character and just drag and drop my many simple skeleton here. Okay, right after that we have to select animations that we will use. I have already searched for a crouch animations here, and I think that we need something like standing up maybe. Okay, I think yes, we need to an animation crouch to stand, so select it here and okay, something is wrong with hands in this animation. Maybe we'll find another one. Okay, by the way, we don't have a big variety of animations, so first let's download crouching idle animation. Here it should be we will download it without skin, and everything else should stay by default. So download crouching idle, crouch to standing, also without skin, crouched walking. Also on for crouched walking, select in place, so an animation will be in place animation. We're not gonna use a root animation. Without skin, okay. And maybe we have something like standing to crouch. And yes, here it is, standing to crouch. So now, when FBX are downloaded, they will appear in, just copy them from download folder and paste it into Mixamo Converter incoming FBX folder. Like this. Also, I'm gonna rename them to okay, we have crouch and idle, standing to crouch, animation sequence, crouch to stand. Next, AS crouch walk forward. Okay, right after that we can import them somewhere in our project. I'm gonna create a new folder and call it crouch animations. And we have to convert them first. So open Mixamo Converter application. And here on the right side you will see a button called Enter the Conversion Process. And at the bottom you will see a list of animations that can be converted from incoming FBX folder. Just tap here and after some time they will be converted. And that's all for this application. Now in outgoing FBX folder we can find converted animations, and I'm gonna just drag them here and select a skeleton as many. And I'm not gonna change anything here, just import all. So here are our Mixamo animations for Unreal Engine 5 skeleton. And now let's create a component. Let's create a new actor component and call it stealth system. Right here, now let's open it. And right here, let's create a new function and call it initialize. We're gonna call this function from begin play. And here we're gonna get some references. First, we're gonna get an owner, cast it to BP, cast it to just character, I think, and promote it to variable. Next, we're gonna get its capsule component and promote it to variable. Also, I will take a skeletal mesh, get a skeletal mesh component, and also promote it to variable. Okay. Right now, we don't play any animations. Let's create here a function called start crouching. Stop crouching and can crouch. It will be a pure function, and can crouch will return us some boolean value. By default, let's tell that we can crouch anytime. Well, on start crouching we have to play animation crouch, stand to crouch, like this. So first let's create an anim montage here. Right click on this animation, create anim montage, and let's call it anim montage stand to crouch. And let's create an montage for crouch to stand. Like this. And I think we will not change anything here. Maybe in future we will change the rate scale, but let's see how it will work. Let's open the system, and on start crouching, we're gonna check whether we can crouch. And if we can, then we're gonna get a mesh. And we're gonna play a montage. But I'm not gonna do it here. Let's create a new event graph and call it montages, and create a custom event here. Play montage. And as input, we will have anim montage. I think that's enough for now. And from start crouching, let's call play montage. For start crouch, we're gonna call am stand to crouch. Now let's implement play montage event. I'm gonna use it as an event because in future I wanna replicate everything here, and that's a reason why I'm using events. So here let's get a skeletal mesh and call play montage. Connect everything here. And now we can have two states, whether character is crouching or not. So let's create a new variable and call it is crouching. And on play montage, let's create a new variable and call it out crouching of type boolean. And set is crouching here on blend out to this variable. Well, now in start crouching, we're gonna check out crouching, and on stop crouching, let's just copy everything from here and paste it here. We're gonna select just another montage, am stand to am crouch to stand, and out crouching will be false. Now on can crouch, we're gonna check whether get movement mode of character movement component. First let's get character movement component. Get movement mode, and it should be we have to check if movement mode is equal to walking, and if it is, then we're returning yes. Also, we have to check whether mesh simulates get simulates is not simulating physics. And that's all for now for this function. Well, one thing that we also have to create, let's create a new blueprint interface and call it BPI stealth stealth state listener. And here on BPC stealth system, let's create a new variable and call it no, we're not gonna call it. We're gonna open initialize here, get our character mesh, get an instance, and we're gonna promote it to a variable, call it anim instance. Now let's open animation instance for your character. In my case, it's you can check it here, select a mesh of your character, and here in animation you will see selected one. In my case, it's this one, ABP. Here let's create a new function, and no, we're not going to create a new function. We're going to implement an interface. Oops. Let's open class settings and select an implemented interface, BPI stealth state listener. Now, where is the function here? Oh, we didn't create any function to make it appear there. So let's open our BPI stealth state listener and create a new function and call it set is crouching. And input is gonna be of type boolean crouching. Save, compile, open animation blueprint again, and here we will have an interface section with the function set is crouching, and right here we're just gonna promote it to variable crouching. Now let's open anim graph and create some state machine for crouching. Or even not, we don't need a state machine for crouching because we have only moving forward animation. So let's open your locomotion or your anim graph, and you will have something like move forward state or just walk state. And in my case, I'm using a blend space. You may have your own animation. Here we're gonna do something like blend space by boolean. Oh, blend by bool. We're gonna blend poses, plug it here, and plug crouching to active value. And if crouching is false, we're gonna use blend space walk forward, and if not, we're gonna use our crouch walk forward animation. Also, let's make it loop animation, and that's it. Also, let's make blending more smooth. Let's increase timings here to 0.2 and 0.2, and now we can close animation blueprint. Now let's create an input for a stealth system. So let's open where an input is located. If you're using an old input system, you can find it in project settings and input here, and add input here in action mappings. In my case, I'm using advanced input actions, and first I have to find where they are located. Here are my inputs, and I'm gonna create a new input action. Let's create it from scratch, and right click on an empty space, select input, input action. And let's call it input action crouch. I already have one, let me delete it. And we don't need to change anything here, just close it. Now open your input mapping context and add new mapping here. Here it is. No, yes, here it is. And select input action crouch. Well, now you can select keyboard button, not for dropdown, but for crouch. And in my case, it's gonna be left control. Save and open BP third person character. And navigate where your, oh, not third person, in my case it's another character. Navigate to where your inputs are made. My inputs are made here. And right click on some empty space and type EA crouch. Here it is. And now let's add a component to our character, BPC stealth system. And let's get it here. Let's get a system, and as soon as button was touched down, we're gonna call start crouching and connect it to started, not triggered but started. And when it was cancelled or completed, we're gonna call stop crouching. Well, now let's test it out. Okay, I have forgotten to call a function called setIsCrouching from my BPC stealth system. So let's open play montage. Here we're setting is crouching, and we're gonna get an anim instance and call set is crouching and connect it here. Also, let's make is crouching variable here as private. Well, animation looks a little bit weird. That's because blending from this montage when we're not from this, but from stand to crouch montage when it ends, our crouch idle is moved a little bit, as you can see. Let's open stand to crouch animation. First, let's lock root. We don't need the root motion. and let's open crouch idle. Also, let's enable root lock. And now, as you can see, we're standing in place in animation, and let's delete this crouch idle from here and add root lock to, we have edited it to stand to crouch, let's add it to crouch to stand. Also open crouch to stand animation and toggle root lock. Now we have a little bit problem that a character is rotating. Also, we don't have an idle animation for crouching. That's why when I'm stopping to move, he stands in a base pose. We're gonna download the idle animation. Oh, we have an idle animation, so let's open animation blueprint again. And in place where you have your idle animation, we're gonna do the same. We're gonna blend poses by bool and plug it here. And in false, we're gonna use base idle. Also connect crouch into active value, and in true, we're gonna use crouch idle. Also looped. I'm gonna increase blend time, and looks like my transition from move forward to idle is a little bit bad, and that's because we're using base animation. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a blend space, right click on an empty space, select animation, and we're gonna create blend space 1D and call it BS crouch walk. Let's open it up. Horizontal axis is going to be called as speed, and maximum value is max speed of crouching. I'm gonna type 600 here for now. I'm gonna snap to grid, and we're gonna select AS crouch idle at 0, and at 150 I'm gonna use walk forward. I'm using such a big end value for speed because I don't know what is gonna be my maximum speed of crouching, but I know that it will be more than 150. So now, when we have this blend space crouch walk, let's open animation blueprint again, and instead of animation sequence crouch walk forward, let's delete it and add BS crouch walk. So now we have to plug in speed here. Speed is counted, it should be counted by default in your project of third-person character, but if you deleted it and have to return it back, you can just get a character, get, I don't remember if we can get velocity like this. No, we're gonna get character movement, get velocity, and vector length xy is gonna be your speed. So this value is gonna be your speed. You can promote it to variable in event blueprint update animation. Now we can connect speed here, and let's check if transition will be better. Yeah, transition from walking to idle is much better, but I still don't like a transition from my montage to walking animation. Let's open anim montage aim stand to crouch and add walk forward here. Yes, that's because it should transition to idle first and then to walk forward, but we don't do it. Maybe we can find some animation in Mixamo like walking to crouch. No, we don't have such an animation, so we're gonna maybe change it manually because this transition is too bad. Well, let's make some experiment, like let's increase a blend time from 0.25. Well, it's almost whole it's almost a half of an animation. Let's increase it to 0.3 and select a mode to something like this. Well, it's not looking better. Well, unfortunately, we don't have an animation in Mixamo, so I think that we can not use the montages here. So, for example, we can not play montage, we can just call is crouching right from here. And let's see how it will look. Now it looks much better, I think. So let's delete a play montage here and delete an montage here as an input parameter of a custom event. Now, when we are able to crouch, I'm also gonna decrease the speed of turning into idle from moving forward. I think that I'm gonna increase the duration of a blending here from 0 to 0.25. Well, what should we do next? Next we have to define whether we can uncrouch, because we can have some wall like this, and if we will navigate here we cannot walk, but we should be able to crouch at least. So to be able to crouch there, we're gonna change our capsule size a little bit. So let's open our stealth system here and on start crouching. Right after play montage, we're gonna get a capsule component and set half height. And we're also gonna call this on stop crouching. Well, now let's open initialize function, and here we're gonna get our capsule component and get its base half height. Get capsule half height and promote it to a variable called base half height. Compile and save. Now here where we are setting a capsule half height, we're gonna get a base, divide it by 2 and plug it here. We're gonna do it on start crouching. On stop crouching we're gonna plug base half height, and on start we're gonna plug a half of it. Now let's test it out. As you can see, capsule size is decreased. Also, we should not divide it by 2, we should divide it by 4 because it's a half height. So here we're gonna divide it by 4, but well, the problem here is that a capsule component, its radius, its half height, for example, for now it's 88, and if I will make it 66, it scales to center. So our character is not moved up with a capsule. So let's open system again. We cannot change, or maybe we can. I think that we cannot change location of a capsule, right? Let's try it. Add the local offset, and by z-axis we're gonna add base half height divided by 8 on z value, and we're gonna add it on stop crouching. Oh, on stop crouching it's gonna be 0 by default. Well, it has some target is gonna be capsule component. Well, it decreased too much because here on start crouching, a new half height is not gonna be a half height divided by 4. It's gonna be base half height minus this one divided by 4. And now we can move here. And there is a little problem with legs. And as you can see, a problem that I was talking about is that if we are walking under something and we are able to walk here, we can just uncrouch here and we will receive something like this. So we have to validate whether a character can uncrouch, and we have to fix legs position. So let's start, and the first thing that I have to check, I'm gonna check if it happened because of a capsule size. Yes, it happened because of a capsule size. So let's find out what is the problem. Well, we are on start crouching, we're moving a capsule a little bit higher. I think that divided by 8 should be enough, and honestly, Okay. Let's open an animation called crouch walk forward. And we're gonna force root lock here at first, and I cannot see whether a capsule is well right after moving a capsule a little bit top or bottom. We have to align character with the bottom of a capsule, and now when we are decreasing the capsule half height, we don't move character, and part of it his legs, like if I will put 66 here, you can see part of his legs is below a capsule component. So we have to move a character mesh up also. So now let's open BPC stealth system here. The first we're gonna add an we're not gonna change a local offset of a capsule component, and we're gonna change a location of a mesh. So let's get a mesh here and add local offset. And now let's split delta location, and on the value we're gonna add base half height divided by 8. Now let's see how it will look like. Now it looks fine, but it's not returned back, so you can see that he's now floating in the air. And on stop crouching, we're gonna do the same, but we're gonna decrease a local offset. So on stop crouching, we're gonna paste this here, and a delta offset is gonna be base half height divided by 8 multiplied by -1. Well, it looks like it's not perfect. So, and why it's not perfect? Maybe not multiplied by 8 divided by 8, but maybe divided by 4. Looks like yes. It should be divided by 4. So now we have to check whether we can uncrouch somewhere. Also, during the movement animation, capsule height is too small. So let's do it like this. Let's create a new factor here and call it capsule decreasal rate of type float. Now it is 4. And a bigger this value will be, a smaller decrease of a capsule will be. So now by default it's gonna be 4, and let's connect it everywhere. Here, here, it's in start crouching, and in stop crouching we're gonna plug it here, and that's all. Well, now let's increase this value a little, like 5. Now we cannot move here because capsule not allows us. So let's move it a little bit up so that we will be able to crouch underneath. And here is a problem, like I'm standing and cannot move. Well, let's test it. Let's open stealth system and on can crouch. Let's create a new function. Validate uncrouch position. Or let's make it can uncrouch. What we're gonna do here? Here we're gonna get actor location. We're gonna get a character first. We're gonna get actor location. And we're gonna make a capsule trace by channel. Well, actor location is gonna be a start and an end. Radius is gonna be the same as in BP character. It's in my case it's 34, and half height is gonna be base half height. Trace channel is visibility. Now if there was no blocking hit, we're gonna return output yes of type boolean, and it will be true if return value if blocking hit is false. So now on stop crouching, we are not checking whether character can crouch, we're gonna check whether he can uncrouch. Also, let's make it a pure function, compile and save. Now I'm holding a control button, and now I'm not holding my control button, and when I will move here, nothing will happen. That's because my control button is not holded, but stop crouching cannot be called in any way. So how should it be done? Let's create a new variable, and it can happen only during uncrouching, and let's call it is pending uncrouch. Of type boolean, and it's gonna be false by default. In start crouching, if we are starting crouching, we are setting this value to false. On stop crouching, if in stop crouching, if we have stopped crouched already, then we're setting this value to false also. Now let's open our event tick here, or not even event tick, I think tick is too much. Let's on begin play, let's start timer by function name, set timer by function name, promote it to variable and call it pending crouch timer. And let's create a new function called pending crouch timer on pending crouch timer. Copy its name, and here on set timer by function name, plug on pending crouch, put on pending crouch timer function name in function name field, and we're gonna check every half of a second and make it looping. Now on pending crouch timer, we're gonna check if is pending uncrouch. And if it is, then we're gonna call stop crouching. If it is false, we're gonna get pending crouch timer and clear and invalidate timer by handle. Now on stop crouching if we have called stop crouching and false received. Oh, let's do it like this. Let's delete this. Let's copy this set timer by function name and delete this set value and delete this variable from here. We don't need it. Now on stop crouching, we're gonna, on false, we're gonna create a timer, make it not looping, and it will call on pending crouch timer. And here, before this, we're gonna set is pending and uncrouch to true. Well, now let's test it. Okay, nothing happens. Well, what's the problem here? Maybe set timer on pending crouch timer 0.5. And we're checking if is pending uncrouch is true. Okay, let's add a breakpoint here. Okay, now I stopped holding control and we telling false on pending crouch timer. Okay. It goes here again and again. Okay, now it checks every half of a second whether we can uncrouch. I think that the problem is with a capsule trace, by the way. Let's remove it and let's debug our capsule trace by channel because it looks like it always returns size a bad hit. So on can uncrouch, let's draw for one frame our capsule. Well, yes, the problem here is that if we are in crouch state, then actor's location is a little bit incorrect. So we have to get an actor's location and add a base half height to it. So we're gonna move this vector up. We're gonna add vector. Maybe we can, yes, here it is. And on, we're gonna split this and we're gonna plug base half height into Z. And this is gonna be our start and our end. Okay. Now let's test it. Here we cannot uncrouch, and if I will walk away, we're uncrouching. So now I'm not holding my control button, and here everything works fine. Well, capsule is a little bit higher than it should be. So on can uncrouch, we're gonna add this value divided by oh, okay, not like this, not like this, not like this. We're not gonna get an actor's location, we're gonna get a capsule component location. So we're gonna get a capsule component and get world location of a capsule component. So right after that, we on start crouching, we are changing its, we're not changing its offset, by the way, so we can just make it a start and end, and let's see whether we should. Okay, here is a capsule created. Now I'm not holding my control and it checks whether a capsule can appear here, but you can mention that it is too big, so it's a little bit under an earth. So from here we're gonna add a new vector. We're gonna get a base half height divided by capsule decrease rate, plug it into Z, maybe divided by 2 again. Let's check. And this should go into start and end. So now, yes, now it's correct and capsule is in correct location. It matches a capsule of a standing character, so it should look like this. Now we can disable drop debug type, and now we are able to work under some surfaces and stand up when it is needed. Let's save everything, and maybe I will delete the montages, think that we don't need them anymore. Well, the next thing that we have to do, I want to make this